Nothing makes me happier than having all my favorite books in my lap at one time. But no lie, these are so freaking heavy. I'm gonna have to set them down, but I had to show you because this is the biggest multiverse of books that I've ever read. And I want to explain to you something because if you follow Sarah J. Maas, if you have a love for ACOTAR and you're just excited for the next book to come out, you saw that she has finished her draft of ACOTAR 6. And so there's something kind of important that we need to discuss. I went into this series without even knowing what I was getting myself into. I didn't research it. I didn't know where to start first. I just knew that, and honestly, I didn't even know these were all connected. I started with ACOTAR, and that is what made me fall in love with Sarah and her writing. And then I decided after ACOTAR to give Throne of Glass a try. And then after Throne of Glass, I was very, very indecisive about wanting to read Crescent City, and for a good reason, because they are so big and intimidating. But I missed her writing so much that I went for it, and I'm so glad I did. I ended up loving these books. But there's something you need to understand about these books. They are all connected, and I don't know how to say this without giving any spoilers away. I don't want to tell you how they're connected, but they're all in the same multiverse. I want you to think of like Marvel. Think of like Spider-Man and the last one that came out, when like all three Spider-Man, they are all from their own universes, but they all come together for one big important reason. Well, there's something bigger going on than just what's in these books that connects them. I feel like we're getting to that point and going to figure out what that's going to be. We just started understanding that, and you will know that if you got to the end of Crescent City 3, which is why you need to read Crescent City, all three of these books, before you read ACOTAR 6. And I know that's going to make people so upset and not really understand, because it's like, well, why do you know that if you haven't read ACOTAR 6? We know that because we read Crescent City, and you're going to get confused when you get to ACOTAR 6 and something's happening, because you're going to be like, when did this happen? It happened in this world, but you haven't been to this world, so you just don't know it yet. And maybe you're just okay with reading ACOTAR and not reading Crescent City at all and like getting caught up another way. You do you. I'm just saying that if you plan to read Crescent City or want to like have the bigger picture and a better understanding, reading all the ACOTAR books, because there will be more books after ACOTAR 6. There will be more Crescent City books. You need to read Crescent City first. Now, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses. I read ACOTAR, all of those books, 1 through 5. And then I read Throne of Glass, which is my absolute favorite. I feel like these are misunderstood. They get overseen just because there's so many of them. It's so big. Some people don't understand how they might be connected to Crescent City and ACOTAR. If you've read those two and you haven't read these, I can understand that. And someone asked me this morning, they asked if they need to read Crescent City and Throne of Glass before ACOTAR. Now, I definitely think that Crescent City needs to be read before ACOTAR. Throne of Glass, I also think needs to be read just because they're connected, and I don't want to say how or why, but there's just some things that go on in this series that gives you a better understanding of things that go on in these two series. And so I just feel like you need to read these as well, even though I feel like what's going on with ACOTAR 6 is going to have more of a connection to Crescent City. You could probably get away with only reading Crescent City before ACOTAR 6, but I don't recommend it. I feel like you need to read these. You're just gonna have a better understanding of everything as a whole and like where she's going with it. I personally am so glad that I have all of these read because it made me appreciate Crescent City even more. And I feel like, yes, it is my least favorite series. It's still a good series, but I don't know, I just appreciate it more after reading it, Throne of Glass, and then going into Crescent City, because I could see why she went a certain direction with those books and why they're so different than these two. And you just wouldn't understand that if you don't have the knowledge from these books that they give you before going into it. I hope that makes sense. I'm so excited for the next book, and I just, as a reader and someone who just loves this series very much, I know so many of you are just starting your journey with ACOTAR or Throne of Glass, or maybe you just like, you don't read Crescent City at all. I want to encourage you to give it a try. I know that they're so big, and honestly, what I remember from the first book, the first half of this book like dragged on a lot. But once you get past that, these are so good. I actually loved the third one the most, and it was just so exciting, especially getting to the end and seeing those connections, that I think that you're really going to enjoy these if you can get past how big they are. I can also understand if you might be like confused on where to start. I read ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and then Crescent City, but that was also because like I didn't have like a great understanding. I don't really think that it matters if you read ACOTAR before Throne of Glass or Throne of Glass before ACOTAR, but I do definitely think that ACOTAR has to be read before Crescent City. Again, this is all my opinion, just based off of what I know and my experience with reading all of these books and what I think is best. Books are very biased, and I can understand if someone maybe disagrees or has a different opinion on how to read it. I just simply want to help you based off of what I know. So I hope that this video helps somebody prepare for the next book. We are all so excited. I don't know when it's going to be coming out. I personally am going to be rereading the third book. I'm not sorry, not the third book, the fifth book in ACOTAR series. I feel like this one needs to be fresh on my brain before ACOTAR 6 comes out. Because I've read Crescent City 3 this year, I feel like I'm okay. We'll just see like at what point the next book's gonna come out. I might want to reread Crescent City before then, but I just feel like the only one that's really needed is the fifth book in ACOTAR.